The Buccaneers had 4 players in the Locked On Top 100, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with it. That and more on today's episode of Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome into this episode of Locked On Bucs, your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or view every day. Don't forget you can subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can follow along on Twitter. I am James Yarcho at @JYarcho_Bucs, credentialed member of the media covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, here with you every Monday through Friday along with the everydayers. For that, I want to share my appreciation for your continued support of the show. One of the ways you can support the show is become a Locked On Bucs insider. You're going to get news, rumors, updates, general thoughts, and one-on-one conversations with me via text message. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes to become an insider today. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Lots of reaction coming up regarding the Locked On Network Top 100. But we're going to start at the top here with the 4 Buccaneers that made the list. Now, the Eagles led all teams with 7 players. Then the Lions finished with 6. The 49ers, Chiefs, and Texans all had 5. Then you had the Bucs, Chargers, Commanders, Cowboys, Falcons, Giants, Rams, and Ravens each get 4. Now, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you had Tristan Wirfs come in at number 21, Baker Mayfield at number 47, Mike Evans at 69, and Antoine Winfield Jr. at number 80. That was it, which leads me to my first issue with the top 100. Where are Vita, and Lavonte, David? There were 7 defensive tackles named to the top 100. And I can tell you that there are not 7 defensive tackles in the NFL better than Vita Vea. You're going to tell me that Derek Brown, Quinnen Williams, and Leonard Williams are all better than Vita Vea? Come on. There's no way. Vita was just named number 76 on the NFL Top 100 as voted by players, and the testimonials on that video were absolutely hilarious. We're talking about a guy that was being double-teamed and still sacked Patrick Mahomes with one arm. A guy that had his helmet ripped sideways over his face to completely block his field of vision, and he still got a sack. How many defensive tackles in the NFL last season stuffed Saquon Barkley at the 1-yard line to prevent a touchdown? An absolutely egregious omission. Then you have Lavonte David, who was 96th on the Players Top 100, who also didn't make it. Now, only 4 inside linebackers did make it. Fred Warner, Zach Bond, Bobby Wagner, and Roquan Smith. So the position itself was woefully underrepresented, but that doesn't excuse the fact that Lavonte David was left off. And I talked to David Harrison earlier today, and I said to him, look, you've watched both players much closer than I have, but I cannot see why people think that Wagner is so much better than Lavonte. In terms of skill and impact, it seems like they're pretty even. And David said to me, yeah, me neither. Lavonte should be right there with him on all of these lists. Then we had the biggest blunder of them all. Here is the graphic for numbers 61 through 70, where, this is where we have Mike Evans. I want you all to take a look at this and tell me which of these things doesn't belong. For those of you listening, here are the players listed from 61 to 70. You have at 61 wide receiver Nico Collins. 62 you have Quinnen Williams. 63 you have Rashawn Slater. 64 Trey McBride. 65 Christian Gonzalez. 66 Will Anderson. 67 Travis Hunter. 68 Jordan Love. 69 Mike Evans, and 70 Quinn Miners. So which of these things is not like the other. Yeah. At 67, we have Travis Hunter, a rookie, a guy who has never played a down of football in the NFL, and he comes in the top 70 above Mike Evans. What are we doing? I need names. I need to know who voted for Travis Hunter at all. But why on earth was he voted on so high that it canceled out all of us that left him off the ballot and put him in the top 70 ahead of Mike Evans and Chris Olave and Drake London and Garrett Wilson and Terry McLaurin and Davante Adams? What is happening? Look, I said my piece during draft season where I didn't think that Hunter was the best receiver or corner in this draft class. I said he was good at both. He's not elite at either. He got the Heisman because he played both. He was drafted as high as he was because he plays both. That doesn't mean that I don't think he can't be a good NFL player. Maybe he winds up being the offensive and defensive rookie of the year, and I'm going to have to eat my crow and apologize to Wig on a squad show for doubting the guy. But he hasn't played a single down in the National Football League. Not one. He has absolutely no business being on this list at all, let alone as the 9th receiver. That makes Evans number 10. Now, he was 9th in the annual poll of NFL coaches, executives, scouts, just ahead of Garrett Wilson and behind Nico Collins. But that's absolutely insane. When there's players like Vita Vea and Lavonte David being left off this list, players like Tyler Linderbaum and Jalen Johnson being left off this list, and then we have people voting for a rookie into the top 70. We had a kicker in the top 75. It's inexcusable. And I invite anyone who voted for Travis Hunter to come on this show and defend themselves. Open invitation. If you voted for Travis Hunter to be in the top 100 at all, let alone high enough that he wound up in the top 70, when everyone else that I have talked to has said, why on earth would I have voted for Travis Hunter? Go ahead and DM me. Come on the show and explain yourself, because there is no way that you can legitimately justify that selection. None. No way. And I know we have plenty of hosts that think their players were ranked too low. And I'll talk more about Baker Mayfield and Tristan Wirfs in a little bit, but I don't hate Evans' spot. Remove Travis Hunter, and I'm fine with him being the number 9 receiver. Yeah, I think he should probably be a little bit higher, but I don't hate it. He's the oldest receiver in the top 10 by a wide margin, and he's still getting it done at an elite level year after year. I'll be interested to see where the players rank him, but to me, in our top 100, top 70 is fine. Antoine Winfield Jr. in the top 100 at all not only surprised me, but I thought being 80th was pretty solid. He was the 3rd safety on this list behind Kyle Hamilton and Kirby Joseph, a Notre Dame guy and an Illinois guy. And that's after a rough season caused by all the injuries that Antoine dealt with last year. So again, that's fine. I get it. He's getting some respect here from the network of like, okay, you had a down year because of the injury, so we're not going to punish you for that. We know what you're capable of. Here's your spot. Cool. Let's keep it moving. But Travis Hunter and Brandon Aubrey over guys like Vita Vea and Lavonte David, receivers like Chris Olave and Davante Adams over Chris Godwin, and maybe Adams bounces back, but he hasn't been anywhere close to the force that he was a few years ago. And maybe I'm wrong on him. Maybe being in LA with Puka and Stafford revitalizes him a little bit. But Godwin was top 3 in the NFL in most receiving categories when he went down, and he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt here. It's going to be real interesting when the Bucs have 3 receivers, a running back, a quarterback, and an offensive tackle all in this top 100 next year, plus probably 2 or 3 defensive guys at least. But what about those two offensive pieces that I haven't mentioned yet? That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. FanDuel is super easy to use, and it's always where I go to place my parlays for just about every sport. But I also love the futures bets and trying to predict champions across all sports. Right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are plus 110 to win the NFC South, minus 142 to make the playoffs, and plus 2,900 to win the Super Bowl. That's behind teams like the Bengals, Vikings, Packers, Niners, Commanders, Chargers, and Rams. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. The Locked On NFL Top 100 is here, voted on by the NFL hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by experts that cover these teams and players every day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Do not miss the continued reaction where the Buccaneers players landed. We're talking about it right here. I'm going to continue talking about it coming up, and I'm sure we will have continued fallout moving forward. I'll tell you this. I cannot wait for the next NFL squad show. Cannot wait for it. I'm holding people accountable. Now, I didn't talk much about Tristan Wirfs or Baker Mayfield. Wirfs came in at 21, which I thought was a little bit low. But that being said, being the third offensive tackle on this list is absolutely wild. Ahead of him were Penei Sewell at 13 and Lane Johnson at 18. No, absolutely not. Stop kidding yourselves. Seriously. Tristan Wirfs is the best tackle in the NFL. We just talked the other day about the poll of coaches, GMs, scouts that ranked him as the number one tackle in the league. The NFC executive that they quoted even said that he's not as flashy as Sewell, but he makes it look so easy. He's the only player to ever be first-team All-Pro as a right and a left tackle. Sewell isn't a left tackle. Lane Johnson isn't a left tackle. So Wirfs has the harder job. He's been named the best player at the position that the other two guys play, as well as the more difficult tackle position, and he comes in behind both of them. Swing and a miss, guys. He was quite literally the best statistical tackle in the NFL last season. But he plays for the Bucs. The Eagles and Lions are sexier teams, so those players get the nod. As for Baker, he was the 9th quarterback on this list. Lamar was 1, Mahomes 2, Allen 3, Burrow 5. Again, I don't personally agree with the order. I had that order a little different, but I've said it over and over on this show that these are the top 4 guys. Put them in whatever order you want. It's fine. Because after that, it's the tier break. And that tier break in this top 100 is very real. The next quarterback that shows up on the top 100 was Jaden Daniels at 31. Then you had Herbert at 39, Stafford at 40, Hurts at 46, and Baker at 47. I know some of you are already laughing at what you think is coming. And look, I'm not going to harp on this for the 700th time this offseason. Let Daniels play more than a year. Herbert is beyond overrated. Stafford is on the decline, but it is what it is. Top 50 in the NFL, top 10 in quarterbacks. I don't think that there are a lot of people that would have believed you if you told them in 2022 what Baker was going to do in 2023 and 2024 what he's poised to do in 2025 and the way he has the Bucs offense among the league's best. So while you all know exactly how I feel about Justin Herbert as well as the Jaden Daniels hype train, I'm not going to flip out like I did over Vita, Lavonte, and Travis Hunter. For the record, I had Baker in the 30s and as the 6th quarterback on my list. So not too far off. I definitely had Justin Herbert behind Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, and Jordan Love. All in all, this was a really fun and interesting thing to do with the network. I'm not going to pull back the curtain entirely because, we all as a network presented our top 10 players for the team that we cover. Mine, in order, was Tristan Wirfs, Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, Lavonte David, Vita Vea, Antoine Winfield Jr., Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving, Kalijah Kancey, Luke Gedeke. Now, maybe you disagree with some of the players on the list. Maybe you disagree with the order that I have them in. But based off of last season and projecting for this season, that's how I saw the top 10 shake out for the Bucs. The toughest choice for me was the 10th spot. I had a really, really hard time deciding between Luke Gedeke and Yaya Diaby. Now, I think Yaya Diaby is going to have a much better season than he did last year. And if that's the case, he may jump all the way up to like 7 or 8 on a list next year. But hopefully by the time we do this next year, I will have Yaya Diaby up there after some solid production. Maybe Emeka Ibuka or Jacob Parrish or Benjamin Morrison make my list. Maybe Hassan Reddick after he balls out and re-signs with the team for another year or two. But I thought overall, this was a pretty fair assessment of who had a great year last year and who should have a great year this year. In the end, putting together a top 100 list for the entire NFL and having a network like ours get everyone involved was really a lot more challenging than I ever expected. Putting together my own voting list was a labor of love because I'm not going to lie to you, it took forever. There were plenty of times that I was just buzzing right along and had this list going the way that I wanted it to. And then all of a sudden I would stumble across a name and go, how on earth did I forget that guy? Now I have to go in and I have to change all the numbers again to be able to put him where I felt he was supposed to go. It took forever, but I am so glad that we did it. Obviously, all of us here on the network do not see things the same way, but that's what makes being on this network so much fun. It's because we can bring different views, different insights, opinions, takes, reactions, and play those off one another. And that's why I love doing those squad shows. I can't wait for those to start up again. I love doing them when I'm able to riff about all things NFL with Peter and David and Kevin and Ross and Wig and Chris and all these Louie. That's what I love to do. So you can check out some of the top 100 reaction shows over at Locked On NFL with guys like Wig and Chris Carter and Tyler Rowland. Those are a lot of fun. Even Wig, excuse me, even Wig on Twitter put up a video saying, he covers the Jaguars. Wig is the host of Locked On Jags. And he says, I don't understand how Travis Hunter is number 67, yet Brian Thomas Jr. and Josh Hines Allen aren't even on the list. So he flat out said that he didn't vote for a rookie because he doesn't believe rookies should be in the top 100 when they haven't played in the NFL yet. So we know that he's not the one that got Travis Hunter all the way up into the top 70. But lots of fun reactions from those guys over on Locked On NFL. But couple of notes to wrap things up regarding Benjamin Morrison and the uniforms. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs. Wrapping things up here on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, and Evan and I talked on yesterday's show about any concern regarding the fact that second-round pick Benjamin Morrison had not signed his rookie deal yet. Now, Evan was approaching it very much the same way that I was. There's no need to worry or panic quite yet. The Bucs don't start camp until next week. Plenty of time to get this done, but it was a league-wide issue. It wasn't a Bucs or a Morrison-specific issue like you have with Shamar Stewart and the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Evan mentioned that since it was a league-wide thing, everyone was waiting for someone to blink because Houston and Cleveland decided to give their second-round picks fully guaranteed deals. It just created a logjam. Well, after Evan and I got done recording that episode, someone blinked and the dominoes began to fall. So last night, the San Francisco 49ers and their second-round pick, Alfred Collins, agreed to a deal. Then on Thursday, we saw a flurry of signings happen. The Bears and Ozzie Trapolo and Shamar Turner, the Chargers and Trey Harris, the Commanders and Trey Amos, the Ravens and Mike Green. So as soon as Collins started things off on Wednesday night, the ripple effect began and the second rounders started signing. I would guess now that Morrison is going to get his contract signed within the next probably 48 hours, and he will be there at the start of camp, which is great news considering he has a real chance to challenge Jamel Dean for the starting job. I know Pewter Report, my buddies over there, they had something up about Morrison having a legit shot at taking over the starting job for Jamel Dean. It's a great read. You should go check that out. But beyond that, one more cool thing got announced on Thursday. So in week 5, when the Buccaneers travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks, it will be a full 1976 throwback game. Both the Bucs and the Seahawks will be in their throwback uniforms, which was something that we speculated on this show when we got that first teaser with Steve Spurrier for the original 1976 white uniform. I said on here, it would make a ton of sense to wear those against the Seahawks since the two teams entered the league together. Both are celebrating their 50th anniversary. If they both wore their throwbacks, it would be a great visual. It would be a great hat tip and tribute to their inaugural seasons that they had together. That's exactly what we're getting. So that means that the Bucs are going to wear their throwback uniforms in weeks 3, 5, and 15 this season against the Jets, Seahawks, and Falcons, with 2 of those games being throwbacks for both teams. So, obviously against the Seahawks, and then, of course, on Thursday night against the Falcons when they're going to wear their 1970s uniform with the red helmet. It's going to be beautiful. I'm not sure yet if the Jets are going to wear their throwbacks in week 3 or not. And also, no official word that I could find on which throwbacks the Bucs will wear in week 5. Now, at first, it was said that the white uniforms would only be worn one time. That said, with it being a road game, I could see them wearing the whites again. On the other hand, in week 15 against the Falcons, the Bucs will be in creamsicle orange, while the Falcons are going to be in black jerseys with red helmets. Given how different the creamsicle and the Seahawks original blue uniforms were, I could see both wearing their home jerseys for that game. I mean, you all know me. I don't care what jerseys you wear. Just win the game. I personally love the white ones with the creamsicle numbers just a little bit more. I think it's a crisper, cleaner look. But that week 5 game is going to be a visual beauty. Just chef's kiss, masterpiece. All that said, I do have a plea to make with the Buccaneers organization. I know for a fact that there are people in that building that watch and listen to this show. So I'm talking directly to you guys at this point in time. Please, for the love of all things holy, wear the pewter uniforms again this season. We have not seen them since Thanksgiving weekend in 2023 on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. They are the best alternate jerseys in the league, not including throwbacks. That pewter uniform is so clean. You know that the Bucs fans love it. You cannot let those sit on the shelf for 2+ seasons. Break them out against the Patriots or the Panthers or on the road against the Bills. The Cardinals, you got to wear the reds. We know that. Simeon's going into the Ring of Honor. You got to wear the red for that game. Jets, Falcons, those are the throwback games. Eagles, make them wear the dark jerseys. Let Jalen Hurts puke all over the field like he's Donovan McNabb. Niners, 1 o'clock kickoff in October might still be a little too hot to wear them that early on. Saints in December? The Panthers to end the season? Come on, guys. Find a way to incorporate those uniforms this season. I know that gives you 5 different jerseys in 1 year, but if you're going to keep knocking the uniforms out of the park, then you have to keep wearing them. Those are the rules. I don't make them. But if you're going to keep releasing fire jersey after fire jersey, then you can't skip wearing them. Again, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. So, come on. You guys got to get it done this year. And one last thing. To the people complaining on Twitter about how the uniform reveals are dumb and the throwback games are dumb and it's nothing but a money grab and blah, 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 blah. Go touch grass. Then argue with a wall. You sound like a clown. And if you're really going to get this worked up over a team wearing special jerseys for their 50th anniversary, then maybe you need to find something else to put your focus into because it's not that serious, bro. And if you're going to freak out about something that small and that trivial, then you probably have some bigger issues to figure out. So stop being that guy. Nobody likes that guy. That guy doesn't get invited to parties and barbecues and Bucs games. You know, if you don't like it, if you think it's a money grab, then ignore it and don't buy the merch. It's pretty simple. In fact, it's quite possibly the most simple thing that you could ever do. If you don't like it, ignore it. Don't spend your money. If you think it's a money grab, then just say, oh, I just won't buy anything. How hard was that? That's going to do it for this episode. Please check out everything going on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at @JYarcho_Bucs. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube with the notifications turned on, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. Become a Locked On Bucs insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes. If you want to support the show, but you don't want to become an insider, it's real simple. Like the episode on YouTube and or leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Those things really do help other Buccaneers fans find the show. And if you're on TikTok, follow us over there at Locked On Bucs on TikTok. Hope you guys have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire the cannons. I want to thank you so much for joining me right here on Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.